and welcome everyone to the Live Limitless Summit, where we are focusing all about having conscious, abundant, and empowered relationship. So, to those of you who do not know me, I am Nipam Jain, and I love facilitating and transforming people's limiting belief, pain, and trauma, so that they can be the best version of themselves. So, what are relationships? So, on the surface, we may see or think ourselves as being in and belonging to relationship with our partners or others. This, however, is only the part of the true depth and meaning of what it is to be in relationship. We have been so distracted by everything outside of us that we are uncomfortable with who we are within. The only person you spend time with is you, and inside your head where you live, and we have loads of voices in there which makes us smaller than what we are. And so, how to quieten that inner critic? So on that note, I would like to welcome Pratima, and I'm really excited to have you, Pratima, over here with us today. Welcome to the show. So Pratima,
Thank you so much.
yes, welcome. Pratima is a certified health coach and a mindset mentor, best-selling author, and holistic wellness advocate. She's trained in over 20 modalities, including clinical hypnotherapy, functional medicines, energy healing, mindfulness. She's a lifestyle entrepreneur with a master degree in business administration from the Indian School of Business. She provides personal coaching, especially for women in nutrition, health, wellness, and mindset to empower them to get healthy and happy from inside out and love themselves more. She facilitates personal development workshops and sessions online and around the world in order to educate people in health, lifestyle, nutrition, mindset shifts that truly empower them to transform any area of their life which is not working, so they can create a life they truly desire for. So I'm really excited to be with you today, and the topic which is you have chosen, how to quieten that inner critic. And I know, as I just said, that half of the time we are just in our head, we just project, we just judge, we just mind read people. So, Pratima, I would like to know your journey before we dive into this. Like, what made you choose? I mean, you have just done lot many things, and now your purpose is also to empower people in their lifestyle and giving them a different reality of what they actually are. So, over to you, Pratima, and let us take on that journey of your awesomeness.
Hey, Neepam, thanks again for having me here. And I'm really excited about this topic that you've chosen about conscious relationships. So, when you told me that this is the topic you're planning for the summit, the very first thing that popped in my head is, a conscious relationship begins with ourselves. So, we have tons of relationships in our life, right from the time we are born, with parents and with spouses and friends and family and all of this. But we get so lost in all these relationships while growing up. We tend to forget the most important relationship in our lives, which is with ourselves. And that's what happened to me too. So while I just got into the daily life, and just while I grew up, I realized that I kind of like forgot that I exist. Like, I had to cultivate a kind of a rapport with myself. I had to check in how I'm feeling and what I'm doing, what's going on in my head. I think most of us experience that inner voice, all the stuff, like you said, we live in our mind, we live in our heads all the time. That kind of goes into an autopilot mode. We don't even realize what's going on in our head, and we tend to let it go on as a background process. So it really takes a lot of awareness to to acknowledge that that's what's going on and then change it. Now, it's only when I really started looking at this with myself, like what's really going on? Why do I behave certain ways? Why do I really judge myself? And when I started looking deeper into all of this, um, I realized that, I was into a lot of people pleasing and comparing myself with others. And I'm sure we all do that, to different extents. And yeah, so that's something that I really changed in my own life personally. I used to judge myself a lot. I used to play myself less by comparing myself to friends and peers. I mean, in all walks of life, whether it's judgments about my body or about my work or uh, while growing up, maybe with studies and whatnot, and even like talents and abilities. So there's like a constant comparison. And that's how I lived my life, really feeling less than everybody else around me. Now, it's not that I was actually less, but I was doing pretty well, and still, that's the irony there. And still, we have that judgment going on within us. And it took me a lot of effort, and I think a long time as well. It's been a journey of many years for me to get over that judgmental voice, that voice of comparison and criticism that goes on in my head, and become comfortable with who I am, really embracing every aspect of myself. And that's what I want to really deep dive into talking today about becoming okay with who you are, just the way you are. Yes, we all want to get better and we all want to change and improve and all of that, but in order to do that, you have to first be comfortable and okay with where you are right now. Without embracing who you are, you really can't change anything, because in order to change anything personally, I think we need to have a relationship with ourselves to begin with.
Definitely, I
So that's been
definitely
my
agree with
journey.
that point of yours. And this is this is very funny, very often I think, on this journey, I have been on this journey also of self-discovery. So I see I mean, as much as I am having that inner critic, does everybody has that inner critic going at the back of the mind? Because sometimes we are not even aware. So what is your say on this?
I think we can be 99.99999% sure that every one of us has it.
Yes.
No, I feel as long as you are a human, you're alive and you're living your life, there is that judgmental voice that's going on within. Partly it's a program, that the way the society has been created. I think we are just programmed into it while we grow up. I'm sure when we are born, as when we are babies and when we are infants and toddlers and we are growing up, that critical voice is really not there. If you see kids, you'll see the difference. They're just joyful. They're just, being who they are. They don't care. They don't compare. But I think it's a lot to do with the programming. So as we grow up as adults, I'm sure all of us develop that voice. So which is why it's really important, in my opinion, to become aware that we have that critical voice. We have that internal monologue that goes on in our head, like, saying you can do this, you can't do this, you're bad, you're good, you don't look good, your body is this way. Like that critical voice that goes on as a background process, it has to come in the conscious awareness. That is the first step to changing anything.
Exactly. I do agree to what you said, that awareness and being aware that something is playing at your background is really, really important. So, what are the drawbacks? Like, okay, we all know that there is some positivity and some negativity. I mean, though I don't believe there is both the aspect, but still, what is the drawback of being into that self-critical zone? How do you harm yourself, and what happens, and how does it harm a relationship which you have with yourself?
See, I think whenever we have any kind of judgments with ourselves. So every time you criticize yourself, saying, you're bad, you can't do this, or you're not good enough, or whatever it is, every judgment kind of creates a separation with yourself. Like if you take this example with respect to other people, say you have a friend or you have a partner, and you start judging them. You start thinking, oh my god, this person makes so much noise while they're eating, or oh, they have a very squeaky voice, or think about some judgments you have with a friend, and suddenly notice your relationship with that person. Do you feel close to that person having those judgments?
No,
No, right?
definitely
You
not.
kind of feel apart. The more you judge that person, the more opinions you frame about that person, you feel like you're distancing yourself from them. And that's what happens, I guess, for even in whether you take romantic relationships or friendships or whatever kind of relationship between two people. When you start judging each other, you start creating that separation between yourself. So the same concept applies to us as well. When we start judging ourselves, we start separating from our own self. Now, in order to create any successful relationship, any not successful, I guess, is also a judgment, any conscious relationship or a communion with another person, you have to have a communion and relationship with your own self. Every relationship begins with you, right? So if you really have this strong inner critical voice and you have these strong judgments of you, it will affect the quality of relationships you have all around you. Every relationship gets affected if you really don't have a good relationship with yourself. And I think that's the biggest drawback,
Yes, that is. And in
right?
fact, half of the time we are not even aware about that, how we are creating that suppression just by judging us and others.
Absolutely. That's like the biggest reason why I feel that we all have to look into this aspect and really put in conscious effort to change this. And you'll notice that your quality of life improves as you start becoming more and more comfortable in your own skin. You'll notice that you suddenly feel like you're surrounded by wonderful people and you're having great relationships, and there's more success in your life, there's more joy, and all that. Nobody else around you changed. What changed is within you, right? So your quality of life improves, and obviously your self image, that improves, and everything else starts falling into place, and you start receiving more in your life as you start improving your relationship with yourself. Because I think, whenever you remove any kind of a barrier, like judgments and criticisms are nothing but walls, right? Like the way I said, if you judge somebody else, you feel apart from them. That's because you're like erecting an invisible wall between you and them, and that wall is nothing but your opinion or judgment. So when you release the judgments that you have of yourself, you're kind of demolishing all those walls that you have around you. And I've had clients, I've had people I've worked with, and from my own experience, that suddenly when you release all those judgments, it's not just your quality of relationship that improves, but suddenly you'll notice that your work life improves. You'll start receiving more money in your life, and you become financially
Love it.
better and more successful. So everything else opens up as well. So I would say you will open up more to abundance in your life.
So, see, I think, Pratima, we have born with this default mechanism. If I just speak with people, okay, don't judge. So they'll say, oh, this is a very obvious thing. I mean, it's so natural within us. We are so much in tune to that thing by criticizing and judging people, how to just come out of it, how to be just out of the box.
I think it's not really, about not judging, but I think it's about becoming aware that 99% of all those judgments that we have, really, it's not our own judgments. We are just picking it up from around us. We're trained, we're picking it up. Say for example, somebody who is probably overweight is walking in front of you, and you notice the person and think, oh my god, this person is so overweight and it must be so bad or uncomfortable, whatever. Now what you have to realize is, sometimes if that really makes you feel heavy energetically, that's probably because that judgment is that person's own judgment of their body. You're probably becoming aware of it and you're picking it up. So it could be one of those reasons that you're picking up other people's judgments, and aware of other people's judgments of themselves. And it's also important to realize that 99% of the judgments that goes through your head, whether it's about others or about you, is not yours. It doesn't belong to you. So you kind of have to realize that you're programming yourself with judgments through the society and through everybody else's stuff. And you just have to I would say it's like allowing it to flow through you, not really holding on to it, and just treating it as an awareness and letting it go wherever it is, and not really locking it into your body. I may not really make logical sense here, but it's like, you know, being that, not being a sponge where you're like sucking onto everything and holding it and then locking it and making it the thing. Okay, oh, I thought that person is overweight. Maybe it doesn't belong to me. Maybe it's somebody else's judgment. So one of the tools I really like, this is a tool that I picked up from a modality that called access consciousness, is whenever there are judgments that you're aware of, you just return it to the sender. Whoever it is, the sender, it doesn't belong to you, so you return it to the sender. That tool really helped me a lot in letting go of the judgments and realizing that 99% of them doesn't belong to me.
Yes, right. So how does criticism? If you don't have criticism, if you're not judging people, how the life would be? It's like imagining a life without being that, because we have been so entrained to do that. So how it would be?
You- So I would like to hear from you first. How would you think you would feel if you would not judge yourself? What comes to your mind?
Blank, it's totally blank and a lot of space what I would experience, and I might create from a point where things are very very different, and maybe expansive.
Absolutely. I think you really hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how you'd feel. You would feel expansive. You would feel like a blank canvas, and you're like free to paint and create whatever it is that you desire in your life. You don't have to create your life as what your parents or family or society wants you to be. You don't have to be that person that somebody else wants you to be. You can start exploring what it is that you desire. You can start exploring who you truly are. And that's what happened to me, when I really started being more vulnerable with myself, and I explored, like, okay, what is it like to not live without any judgments, without any need to please other people, without any need to compare myself. I discovered a whole new side of myself. I kind of tapped into different sets of talents and abilities that I had hidden within me, which I didn't know I had because I was just too afraid to try them because of, like, hey, what would people think of me if I fail in this? Oh, I probably am not good. So you've let go of all that crap and now you're free to
Exactly,
try anything and
exactly. And
everything,
this is
right?
so huge, that I'm not good, and what if I fail? This is such a huge thing which stops you from being you, I would say. I mean, just exploring
Exactly.
that, being yourself. That's really, really true.
So that's another huge change that happens. You start you're no longer afraid of failure. You start looking at every failure as just a learning curve because those judgments no longer affect you. You don't care about other people's opinions anymore. In fact, I'd say the biggest change is I stopped caring about my own opinion of myself. It's
That's
not even about.
shift, I would say that's a huge shift, because till now I'm still, I won't say I've reached that 100%, but yeah, till now it's like 70% still. When I'm stepping out to do something different, There will always be a voice which is popping up, and I kind of, just shut down. Still, I'm choosing to do that. So yeah, if you say that, that's a huge, I mean, achievement in itself, I would say.
I know that was such a aha moment for me when I discovered it. I was like, yeah, we always talk about, oh, other people's opinions. You shouldn't be bothered about other people's opinions. But hey, you know what? You have more opinions about you than other people. So I think we really have to work on not caring about our own opinions of ourselves. And then that's why when I think, hey, I suck at dancing, oh, I don't care. Okay, I don't care. I'm just still going to do it because I'm not going to buy into that opinion that I have about myself. And that's how I started doing different things. And I discovered, oh my God, I actually feel so happy dancing, and that brought in that joy and aliveness that I had never experienced before. So it really, another advantage of doing this is your life gets filled with more and more joy. There's more fun. You feel more alive, and you really start showing up more as you, and you start showing up for the adventure of life. So it's like there is a miracle that is unfolding every day, and you start discovering that you are a miracle yourself.
Lovely, lovely. I mean, that's miraculous how we change and see the shift happening in our life when we shut that inner voice within. Pratima, you just mentioned about being vulnerable. You just mentioned about being true to ourselves, being ourselves, authentic ourselves. So, what is vulnerability exactly, and how we can be true to ourselves or be ourselves?
It's interesting you asked that. I wrote an entire book on it, and it's called
Wow,
Vulnerability as the Road to Change.
love.
And this is exactly what I shared there, my journey of really becoming vulnerable. I think for me, what vulnerability means is really living without any barriers. So, barriers for me, the biggest barrier is judgments and opinions that I have. So, letting go of all of those opinions and really becoming comfortable with the good, bad, and ugly side of you. So, it's there's this amazing lady. Her name is Brené Brown, who has done a huge research on vulnerability, and she says that you have to celebrate your imperfections, and that's what I started doing. It's like I would sit every day, I would just meditate, I would just look at what's going on in my head, and all the things I thought are bad about me, ugly about me, I would just start being okay with it and celebrating it. And what happens is when you start celebrating your imperfections, you'll realize that most of the things that you judged are bad about you are actually your strengths.
Wow.
They actually become your strengths and talents. Try it.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that out.
So that's what vulnerability is. It's more about really being you, not caring about other people's opinions, not really having any barriers with yourself or other people's opinions. And you start celebrating your imperfections. You start receiving all aspects of you, including your flaws. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. So the more you start doing this, you'll notice that you become more courageous in life. You become courageous to choose all those things that you were probably not willing to choose before, which is one of the reasons you'll notice that your quality of life improves. You start fulfilling your dreams, probably because you're now willing to make those choices which you were not courageous enough to make before. So vulnerability has a lot of advantages, a lot of gifts that comes along with it. It's not a weakness. I think that's something that we need to realize, that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It is actually an eye opener for me also, and I'm definitely going to try that out and acknowledge each and every part of mine, which up till now I thought is my weakness. But yeah, I need to really explore into it, and how rarely we do that. We just shut that part of ours which we think, oh, this is what I really can't do it, or this is my weakness. It is definitely. So, Pratima, before we just wind up kind of. I would like to know, if someone is having that self inner critic, what would be your tools to give them so that they can shut down onto that criticism, judgment, or the inner critic which is playing in their head?
So I would say I think the most important thing is to first is become aware of it. So every day I would spend a few minutes just sitting quietly and closing my eyes and really pushing down all the barriers that I have with myself. So I would literally imagine that there are walls around me that I've created with all my beliefs and opinions, and I would visualize just pushing them all down. And I don't know how it works, but when you actually do that, you'll notice that you'll get more access to yourself. You'll feel calmer. You'll feel like you're going um, deeper within yourself, and you'll notice all of these voices that are going in the background, and they start becoming more foreground. You become more aware of it. So I would say doing this every day, just this exercise, helps you become aware of everything that you're thinking, and that monologue that's going on in your head. And for me, being aware of something, that's the first step to changing something. Most of the times when I become aware that, oh my god, I'm doing this, I didn't even realize that I was doing this, it just changes, because then it's no longer a hidden thing. It's no longer like, oh, I don't know what's going, I don't know why I react like this. The moment you realize, oh, I'm actually people pleasing, I actually feel like, oh, it's important for me that this person likes me, and the moment I become aware of that, you can change it very easily. So become aware of that monologue, become aware of that critical voice. That's the first step. And I think another important step is you have to learn to forgive yourself. Most of the times what happens when you start becoming aware of all your judgments that you have of yourself, you start judging yourself more. You start having more anger. You're like, oh my god, why am I like this, I'm a bad person, and blah blah blah. But you have to really learn to forgive yourself for that. It's not bad. You just have, you everybody has good, bad, and ugly. And the beauty of it is you're still beautiful and amazing despite all the imperfections and flaws. So learn to forgive yourself, learn to celebrate your imperfections. I keep repeating that. It's not easy, but really being vulnerable, being authentic is a muscle you can build. So it doesn't come like in one day. It's not like you go to the gym, you work out once, and then you have like really strong muscles. You have to go every day, right? You have to go and do more repetitions, more weights and stuff. So same, every day you have to practice celebrating yourself despite all the flaws that you think you have. So I think these three are like really simple tools that somebody who's just getting started on this journey can try.
It seems simple, Pratima, but I would say this is the biggest achievement and biggest tool, being aware of what is there inside you, and then you're acknowledging that it shifts. It
Yeah,
doesn't take
absolutely.
long to reach the other part, but yeah, this is the first step, and which is a huge step, and thanks for that tool. I'm
I
sure.
think I had a lot of fun in this conversation. So thank you so much. And I think you've chosen a wonderful topic. Really, we need more people becoming aware of how to create conscious relationships with ourselves, with other people. So I think this is really wonderful. And we had a great conversation. And I'm sure 30 minutes is not enough to talk about this
Exactly,
topic. So
exactly,
we just kind of just touched the tip of the iceberg today,
right.
but it's a good start. So thank you, Neepam. I had a lot of fun being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. See you all soon.